Hello, good evening, everyone. Nice to see you all. Thank you. Tonight we are going to do the last session of this term 2. So as usual, please. Tonight is also the last day of Sagadawa, so which is the new moon. So last day of Sagadawa means the Sagadawa completes today, and therefore it's good to coincide Sagadawas with this course, concluding this course here. So exactly we'll be finishing today the fifth Vajra point. Before we go to do that, we will first of all take a couple moments to formally bring to our attention why we are doing this teaching in general, and particularly in Dharma. That is our having found a good refuge in the Triple Gem, and having that refuge therefore enables us to stay a little bit safer and saner and kinder and wiser in all given situations, because we have some safety mechanism. We have worked to find a way to do more smartly, intelligently, compassionately, because we have commitment to put others first and not do the other way around, which often causes more problem than benefits anybody. So therefore, the whole idea of Dharma being not only use to us, but we have some usefulness to others, hopefully, through our mindful dispensation of our effort, by not forgetting the Buddha, his life, his teachings, and his noble Sangha. So with this we will renew our refuge, and as well as renew the need to cultivate, practice, not forget the bodhicitta. The essence of all the teachings is try to have a good and kind heart, and not get lost in the head. And therefore the bodhicitta is heartbeat of the Mahayana Buddhist teachings, because there's not a single sentient being who would not be benefited when we put their well-being as a priority. And then not only that, our own priority that may not have been put at the first level, but become automatically benefited as a result of yielding the good crops. You don't have to worry about the hay. Hay comes with the good crops. So therefore, we have every reason to feel life or day or a week fully lived, and we wouldn't have any regret. And whenever that inevitable time called death comes, and that's a really amazing gift, to have no regret, no grievances, because you try to live as best as you can, and not try to better anybody or compete anybody, but try to have some degree of complete ability to accept ourselves totally as best as we can be, and we become completely accepted by ourselves. and that's a really hard thing to do. Most people are hardest person to please is themselves, and they can be pleased by their own humble effort, and that's very selfless thing, because when you do that, then that'll make everyone around us feel benefited, because they will draw lots of inspiration from that. So with these reminders, we will now do the prayers. Thank you, everybody. Oyenda Buddha Dhamma Sangha Ajara Fidel Hadam by virtue Ajivendala Ajara Buddha Vajra and Asanga Adere Yedalajama Bhavaja Ajivendala Ajare Buddha Buddha and the Buddha Mahasanga Ajare Yedalajama Bhavaja Ajivendala Ajare Buddha Buddha. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never part from the happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion, and those near far. May all beings have happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never part from happiness that know no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion, those near and far. May all beings have happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never part from the happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell equanimity, free from judgment and aversion to those near and far, according to the intelligence and predisposition of it. Yatanda agrelo ekam virgo. So we are studying the Asanga's Uttaratantra Shastra, which is one of the 5 major works attributed to him and Maitreya. And the subject that is covered in this text is the concept of 7 Vajra points. The 7 Vajra points, the first out of the 7 Vajra point is the 4th is the main topic, that is the topic of this book, which is Buddha nature. So the first 3 Vajra points are Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and 4th is Buddha nature, and 5th is the enlightenment. So if you cultivate the Buddha nature, which is covered in the 4th topic, then you attain Buddhahood. And so therefore the 5th Vajra point is what Buddhahood constitutes. And we went through, we have been going through them. There are eight things that are to do with the enlightenment. That is the cause of enlightenment, the nature of enlightenment, the result of enlightenment, the possession of enlightenment, the engagement of enlightenment, the manifestation of enlightenment, and so those, and then the 7th one is the permanent nature of enlightenment, and the 8th one is the infinite. I think that's the last one we haven't covered. Inconceivable nature of the enlightenment. So of this we have covered the first 6, and we are currently going through the 7th one, which is what the qualities of enlightenment being being permanent, having this eternal. People all talk about eternal truth. Yeah, enlightenment is eternally good, that the benefit of enlightenment becomes constant source of happiness and a benefit to all beings. And that's why the enlightenment of the Buddha it has these amazing characteristics. So last week we finished off with the verse number 229, in which it mainly mentions the 7 qualities in brief, what permanent qualities constitute. So there were these 8 qualities that are briefly mentioned. 7 qualities that how does the enlightened one goes to guide sentient beings through their Rupakaya. Through their Rupakaya, how they go and guide sentient beings. So the four of them are mentioned. And then how do they do not abandon sentient beings by 3 causes. So those were briefly listed in the verse. Now tonight we're going to go over a detailed explanation of how those 7 characteristics, 7 permanent characteristics of enlightenment actually causes the permanent cause of permanent Rupakaya and guiding others, how it doesn't renounce the world, and then cause of permanent Dharmakaya. So the very permanent nature of the of enlightenment manifests as those 2 kayas, the permanent Rupakaya and the permanent Dharmakaya. So and this has 2. The cause of the permanent Rupakaya has 2: guiding other sentient beings and not renouncing them at all. So these have been summarized in the verse number 229, but now it's going to be broken up more in detail in 3.5 verses, as you can see. So to explain that, to detail explanation of the cause of the permanent Rupakaya, it has 2. Firstly, the cause of cause of the permanent Rupakaya and cause of permanent Dharmakaya. The cause of permanent Rupakaya has 2 types. How does they guide other sentient? How do they completely guide other sentient beings? And by guiding other sentient beings, also how do they do not renounce the sentient beings at all? So this is covered in these next 2 verses, verse number 230 and 31, goes to explain how does the Rupakaya, which we mentioned last week. Rupakaya has 2 forms, the Sambhogakaya and Nirmanakaya. And so this will be made elucidated very clearly how the very refuge that you and I have in the Dharma is actually the guiding. The Buddha is enlightened one is making it possible. So the guiding others is made by the Rupakaya, because if the Rupakaya does not manifest, you and I could not access the teachings. So therefore, the Rupakaya is permanently, eternally existing in order to, until all the beings their well-being are fully accomplished, they deliberately remain there in order to benefit sentient beings. So therefore, it says, in order to uphold sacred Dharma, because the sacred Dharma, in order that sacred Dharma is not lost in monuments and in books or in archaeology, but in order to have the real sacred Dharma to be beating in the heart and mind of the people, so they have completely renounced. They have completely renounced their body, wealth, and their resources, and in order to uphold the Dharma. In order to uphold the Dharma, they gave up their body, life, and possessions. These are the Rupakaya, like Shakyamuni Buddha, whose life we studied last week. He completely gave his kingdom of Shakya, his wife, his father, his relatives, everything. And not only that, all the blaming, all the criticism. Most people are afraid of those criticisms, so they would not dare to do those things. Buddha did all of that, never mind, in order to, that completely so that he can uphold the sacred Dharma and to benefit sentient beings. So his main purpose is to hold the sacred Dharma, to benefit sentient beings, and to fulfill his vows. These are the three main things. And to fulfill his vows they have made in the past, they gave up all of their body, wealth, and the resources, possessions. So that shows how the three characteristics of upholding the Dharma and to benefit sentient beings and fulfill their vows, and then they gave up. So the giving up means giving up samsara and worldly pleasure is not because samsara's pleasure are themselves bad, because it interferes their ability to hold the Dharma and benefit sentient beings and to fulfill their vows. That's why he chose to hold sacred Dharma, benefit sentient beings, fulfill their vows to benefit sentient beings, and by not engaging himself in the enjoyment of the possessions and positions and wealth and company and activities or fun and whatever most people become so attracted to. So that's the difference between noble being and ordinary being. Ordinary being prioritize these things for themselves first. The bodhisattva gives these things temporary pleasure or temporary possessions or honor or respect and fame and whatever as futile, as hollow, as meaningless. Because when you do that, while you might be scintillated or you might be fascinated, you might have a really high exciting feeling. But in the meantime, you fail to hold the sacred Dharma, you benefit no sentient being, and you don't fulfill any of the vows. So you can see, that's how they guide sentient beings. So we need to look for anyone who is really a bodhisattva. They must be doing at least small aspects like that. They need to give up so much of their time, give up so much their other things in order to uphold the Dharma, benefit sentient beings, and follow the noble examples of the former bodhisattvas, enlightenment, like Shakyamuni Buddha. So that is in order to guide others. So those who can guide and benefit others have to give up those things. If not, their benefitness to sentient beings will be jeopardized. You see, so they could not benefit others because they're busy doing their things, He went with the boat, He's 5 days not available. And he hasn't come back from the trip. He's packing up all the camping gears for the whole family. Or whatever. He's been too busy doing that. He wouldn't have any time to do for the Dharma. So this is exactly what we're talking about. They gave up all of these things. Not that these things are not enjoyable or entertaining or useful, but that will jeopardize, hinder their usefulness to guide others. So that's the cause of permanent Rupakaya, is that they need to be there like holding the vigil. So that's the meaning of that verse, the first three characteristics. And so being pure, Buddhahood supremely engages with the immaculate compassion. Yeah. So because the enlightened one is immaculately compassionate, not because sentient beings comes to his door and knocks the door and complains about their life, but they know even those beings who are not making themselves known, their suffering is incredibly deep. And because of that, they are so immaculate. Because they have gotten rid of both afflictive obscuration and cognitive obscuration. Because of that, immaculate really means the immaculateness refers to the freedom from the true obscuration. Because of that, their compassion is unimpeded. Compassion engages. So therefore, they engages the immaculate compassion. And then it says that the legs of miraculous powers are to abide there forever. Yeah. So because sometimes people want to do all of the above, but when they try to benefit sentient beings, when they face the hardships and difficulties and challenges, and then they lose the stamina, and then they say, no, I can't do this anymore. Can we cancel it? And so most people don't have this ability. But the enlightened one has this amazing commitment, amazing leg that doesn't get tired and wearied. So their legs of inspiration and aspiration to work for the sentient beings, the 4 types of right effort we were talking about, are so much so that until all sentient beings are liberated, they will abide there forever. So that's why the Rupakaya is, and the activities of Rupakaya is permanent to guide sentient beings. So that shows how the Rupakaya guides sentient beings through their purity, through their vows, through their commitment, and through the immaculate purity, and through the miraculous power. This is why the Dharma is still beating. The Dharma is still present today, because the Rupakaya, which is the Nirmanakaya and Sambhogakaya aspect of Buddha, because therefore we say Buddha did not pass away. Buddha passed away into Mahaparinirvana. Mahaparinirvana means his non-abiding nirvana. His nirvana has not ceased. His nirvana has abiding. So that's why his nirvana is not abiding in nirvana, but his nirvana is still with us. So he's abiding. His nirvana with a residue, they call it. This nirvana with a residue means it has yet to claim to the completely, because it's choose to abide in the world where they are needed most. So that's the one of the reason why cause of the permanent Rupakaya to remain in the world is because until all sentient beings are guided, the Bodhisattvas, enlightened ones, enlightenment has not served or completed its task. So that's the first one, guiding other sentient beings. Now the second is the no renouncing the world. No renouncing the world, this is captured in the next 6 lines. That of course there are 3 reasons why the Buddha, the enlightened one, do not renounce the world. There are 3 reasons why they do not renounce the world. Even if they have the ability to remain forever in the world, because most people will see samsara as full of flaws, and nirvana is something that is very, very pleasant, So knowing samsara and nirvana to be free from dualistic clinging, but in order that they possess inconceivable, perfect, and blissful samadhi. So these are the 3 things. The enlightened one remains in these 3 qualities of inconceivable, perfect, and blissful samadhi. Their meditative state is one taste. Their meditative state is omnipresently remaining in the non-duality of samsara and nirvana. So therefore, they do not prefer nirvana and don't prefer samsara, because they have completely freed. They have been liberated, freed, meaning they are complete. They don't see samsara as something intrinsically bad, nirvana, because they don't even see that as 2 locations. Because samsara is not world, and nirvana is somewhere in another geographical GPS locator. So because samsara and nirvana is not a location or entity in itself, and their mind is not tainted by the dualistic mind, because of that they do not cling to one as a preferable, one as non-preferred. So there is no non-perception of the no conceptualization what is samsara and nirvana, because they know that these are merely imputed by the deluded mind. So if a person who really sees the samsara as bad and full of faults and full of suffering, and everybody wonder, will we leave samsara? But if that kind of being is not harmable by so-called samsara, because even the suffering does not exist to harm the enlightened one. Suffering exists. Suffering doesn't exist independently, even in samsara, for the enlightened one to be harmed. Suffering is a condition of the mind that is afflicted. So when there is no affliction, that's what the lotus, even though is in the mud, that the mud does not taint or stain the flower. The flower actually is not stained by the mud. And likewise, when the enlightened one is not harmed or impeded by the samsara, the enlightened ones are able to abide in this meditative state, which is inconceivable. Their mind is inconceivable meditative state of samadhi, and that their samadhi is perfect and filled with bliss. And as a result of that, when they engage in the world, they remain untainted by worldly faults. So even when they engage with you and me or others, they are not tainted. Even if we show our kind of neurosis or afflictions, bad habits, or it does not taint them slightly. They don't see the things where we think is what we're doing. Because they don't have any taints in their mind. Because they don't have any taints in their mind, they do not see any obscuration of sentient beings obscuring them. Instead, they will more engage with the worldly sentient beings, and without themselves being impacted by the taints and obscuration of worldly sentient beings. Why? Because they are not vulnerable. They are beyond. They are perfect. They remain in a blissful state of mind, and they could not be impeded by any of the so-called temporary faults of samsara. That's why they are able to not renounce the world, because they do not feel harmed. They are not harmable. They are not vulnerable, and they do not complain. And whether the Buddha sees the suffering or not, probably we cannot say, because we have to ask the Buddha. Because Buddhas don't have but he probably sees the suffering we have, but he himself doesn't suffer the same thing. So therefore, they are not tainted, they not stay destabilized by this. Whereas reason why sometimes when we ordinary beings on our relatively maybe stable on the path, sometimes we just feel like leaving. We feel like giving up. It comes up very occasionally. A lot of time. No, I don't want to do this. How long I can do this? Yes. We always arguing. Can I do this? Oh no, this is ridiculous. Maybe I give another few months, another few years. They're always on the verge of giving up. You see, why? Because we haven't got those qualities. We haven't got those qualities of resilience, qualities of immaculate compassion and wisdom. We don't see the emptiness of both things, and because of that, we are subjected to do that. We relapsing. It's very, very volatile. You never know whether it's on or off. Even with our own practice, even with our own normal duty, we just feel like one day we feel like doing, another day we don't feel like doing. It's so temperamental, so impermanent. The Buddha's qualities of eternal. These are eternally never renounced sentient beings. So that's the story of Maitreya, remember? Maitreya said to Asanga, I have been there in front of you right from the very beginning. I never gave up on you any time. It's you who keep seeing me, projecting me, not seeing me at all. So, because Asanga, Maitreya should have told to Asanga, look, I gave up on you. After that 9th year, I thought I wouldn't see you again. He didn't say that. I have been there with you all the time. All the time. It's just that Asanga has his own kind of fixation and attachment, and he really wanted to renounce samsara as the samsara was truly existing. And he wanted to really gain the nirvana as nirvana was truly existing. And this kind of dualism, because he's not freed from the dualistic clinging. He's still caught in the duality. Because of that, he could not see. Whereas enlightened qualities are such, they are beyond that dualistic things. And that's why they guide other sentient beings, as well as they don't renounce the sentient beings when things are turning to be difficult. So that concludes the reason why the causes of permanent Rupakaya, guiding others and not renouncing world, is now explained. Now we come to the second point, how the permanent cause of Dharmakaya, the Dharmakaya, the reason why Dharmakaya is permanent are three, are three that is stated in this second half, and then second half of the text. Verse rather, having secured peaceful state, there is no coincidence of the Lord of Death. So, so to explain that, firstly, I said there are three things. Yeah, the three causes why Dharmakaya is permanent. First is it's permanent because it has achieved peace. Secondly, it is permanent because it's naturally accomplished. And third, it is eternal because it is eternal refuge. So that's the three characteristics of why Dharmakaya is permanent. So this is now captured in these three are explained in detail by the remaining two verses. What we have. The first one is why it is permanent, because it has achieved the peace. So that's captured in the C and D of verse number 233. This is having secured peace, there is no incidence of Lord of Death. So that means that Dharmakaya being permanent, it does not have, and it's because it is Dharmakaya is not born, therefore it has no karma and affliction, therefore it is not subject to death. It is not subject to death. Yeah, Dharmakaya is not subject to death. There's no incidence of Lord of Death, because Lord of Death does not exercise any role where there is the state of mind which is beyond that, and so therefore the Lord of Death does not frequent there. And then the second one is that why it is naturally accomplished, therefore it's permanent. That's covered in the verse number A and B of 234. A and B is saying that the being permanent, perfectly peaceful since beginner's time, sage is naturally unconditioned. So that means that that the permanence of the permanence of the Dharmakaya is primordially pure and perfect, and because it is free from the what do we call from the beginningless time, it is never conditioned. It's not conditioned by birth or conditioned by death. Because of that, it is perfectly peaceful. It is perfectly peaceful. This due to these three causes, it is unconditioned. This is unconditioned. So permanent. Therefore, Dharmakaya is unconditioned. And the third one is the next two lines, permanence of ultimate refuge. So why it's Dharmakaya is permanent? Because it's ultimate refuge. The Dharmakaya it says, for those devoid of refuge, it is the most delightful refuge, and so on. So meaning the Dharmakaya is the actual refuge. Even when we take refuge, is we have two types of refuge: relative refuge and ultimate refuge. So even when we create the relative refuge of visualizing Buddha here, Dharma here, Sangha here, Yidam here, all of that things, and then we having to recite, we having to feel, we having to know the qualities of refuge, we having to feel the fear, we have to feel the compassion for sentient being, we having to feel the devotion to refuge. All of that is the relative refuge. In every relative taking refuge ceremony, at the end of the taking refuge practice, and not just ceremony, taking refuge, at the end of the refuge, you dissolve all the refuge object, the refuge goer, fusing into together as becoming one. So that state of mind that we try to do is we try to reach through that unconditioned state of primordially pure nature. So that's why it says that is perfectly pure since beginner's time. The sage is naturally conditioned. The sage is the mind that is unconditioned. So that is what we call why it is the ultimate refuge. So Dharmakaya is ultimate refuge. This is why we have this relative refuge, ultimate refuge, relative bodhicitta, ultimate bodhicitta, relative vajrasattva, ultimate vajrasattva. We always, at the end of this ultimate practice, we try to stay in that state of delightful refuge that is unimpeded by anything, that is not bounded by anything, that is not conceivable or expressible by any state. You try to stay fully present in this ultimate awareness. So we are trying to experience the unconditioned Dharmakaya by doing the meditation. So that finishes verse number 234. And now 235 is going to talk about the ultimate refuge. Because it's ultimate refuge, the Dharmakaya is permanent, and because it's the refuge of those who do not have refuge. Yeah. Those who do not have refuge, those who do not have refuge, and that's why we find refuge. And now the summary of these above points of the permanent. Now this is summary of all the points that were made about the point number 7, which is why enlightenment is permanent. So the summary is very useful because summary synthesizes all the things that has been elaborated, and the brief one at the beginnings briefly introduce, and the detailed explanation elaborate all the 7 one by one, and then in the summary it just gives explains all those 7 together. So the first 7 reasons clarify the permanence of the Rupakaya, and why the latter 3 illustrate why Dharmakaya lasts forever. So altogether there are 10. there are 10 points about the permanence of enlightenment. Because first 7 is to do with the Rupakaya. When we talk about the Rupakaya, the Rupakaya has explained the need to guide other sentient beings, not to give up. So each of those were listed in those. So because of that, the Rupakaya has to be Rupakaya. 7 reasons of clarifying the permanence of Rupakaya is to guide sentient beings and not give up on them. While the latter 3, meaning the latter 3, which we covered in the previous one, the peace and unconditioned and naturally pure, those 3 are the latter 3 illustrate why Dharmakaya lasts forever. Because Dharmakaya has no beginning or no end, because the nature itself is unconditioned, it's uninterrupted. Because of that, it's by nature pure, nature permanent. So because of that, the Dharmakaya has no time where it starts here. It is not conditioned by birth or cessation. Because of that, Dharmakaya is permanent, and also the Sambhogakaya else is also permanent. Sambhogakaya never ceases teaching, and that is also permanent. And then what do we call Nirmanakaya? Nirmanakaya actually comes in the world and do. So all the 3 kayas are incessantly working for the benefit of others. So the latter 3 are the qualities of the 3 kayas. Therefore, Dharmakaya is the source of manifestation, and the Rupakaya, of which Sambhogakaya and Nirmanakaya is manifestation. So they all last forever. So that concludes the seventh point of the enlightenment, which is permanent, enlightenment, and it's permanent. Now the 8th and last one of this is inconceivable. So the inconceivable, of course, enlightenment is inconceivable, no matter how many listings are listed and explained, these things is we're just hearing the tip of the iceberg. If we can understand a little bit, we still think it's still inconceivable. Why they're talking this so much, I can't really get it. Don't you think that's what they get? It's inconceivable. So the summary, the 8th one, it says, by the way, you don't worry about it. It's inconceivable. It doesn't mean inconceivable doesn't mean you shouldn't try, but to know that inconceivable is conceivably inconceivable, if you like. And then this is now firstly brief and then detail. The brief one, it says here in verse number 236, since enlightenment is an object of speech, so because the 3 bodies, the 3 kayas, and the 10 bhumis, all of these are very much inconceivable. They're inconceivable. Inconceivable not only inconceivable not only in terms of in our thoughts, but also inconceivable is not enlightenment is also not an object of speech. We couldn't talk, articulate enough, explain enough, express enough, write enough about it that you could do a justice to the actual enlightenment. So therefore, since enlightenment is not an object of speech, means it is not something we can talk, describe, explain, and then we think we know about it. It doesn't mean we can't do it, but the more we talk about the qualities of enlightenment, the more we realize it is inexpressible by ordinary language. It will be futile effort to think that we have discussed the enlightenment. So therefore, enlightenment is not an object of speech. And And it is the ultimate, because subject matter it covers is the ultimate, and it is not within the realm of any conceptual kind of fabrication or scrutinization. No matter how much conceptually bright and smart we may be, but it still is beyond our ordinary conceptual capacity to fathom and grasp. So, and therefore, it is also beyond the similes. Even though we talked about the 9 similes, they're only talking about the Buddha nature. They're not talking about the enlightenment itself. So no simile could be used analogously for make you to understand. So it is beyond similes, and it is unexcelled. I mean, it has no way to compare and compete or compare with anything. So therefore, it's peerless. Unexcelled means it is peerless, and it does not present existence and peace. The existence means samsara, peace means nirvana. So therefore, from all of this point of view, the enlightenment is inconceivable even as a domain for the victors. Not just you and me, of course it's inconceivable. Even for the enlightened ones, it's inconceivable. That's what Shakyamuni Buddha, after attaining enlightenment, he shook his head. He says, this is profound. This is peaceful. This is transcendental. Substitutal. Versal means luminosity. It's unconditioned. Substitutal versal dumachi, I have realized a nectar-like realization that I've never thought was possible. Kovenyes means I discovered this. Whoever I may try to explain it, it would not be understood. And therefore, I should retire in the bush without talking about it, and just let it be, because that's exactly what Buddha said. So this verse very much can encapsulate that. So that's in the brief, yeah. In brief, inconceivable is briefly explained. Although it's inexpressible, but explained briefly. Now it will be tried to explain extensively in the next verses. Verse number 237, it goes to now explain that. And now this has two. First is what is the etymology of inconceivable? Yeah. So and then second is relationship of sign and labeled. Yeah. So those first two verses, 37 and 38, is to do with the etymology or etymology or conventional meaning of what it means inconceivable or unimaginable. Unimaginable. That you could not imagine. So it says the Buddhakaya or the form of enlightenment is one that is abiding in the state of the 10th bhumi, it's the 10th bhumi, and the enlightenment is therefore inconceivable. It is inconceivable because it abides in the state of the 10th bhumi. And it's inexpressible because it is ultimate. There is no words, no explanation, no conceptual frame would do justice to explain what it is. And because of that, Yeah, the ultimate, since it cannot be investigated. Yeah, because it cannot be scrutinized or surveyed or fathomed by any of that. Therefore, it cannot be investigated. It cannot be investigated. Because on a relative level, we might be able to investigate. We might have some kind of definition or explanation what it is, but there is no mind that actually is capable of doing the investigation. The subject itself is beyond the investigatabilities. There is no investigatability of the nature. It is not investigatable. Since it cannot be inferentially deduced. So meaning there isn't anything that you can use as inference to validate such as signs or symbols or inferences or analogies that you can actually measure or weigh or test. You can't do that. There isn't any kind of conventional ways that you can use analogies or concept that can be used. Therefore, it is beyond any of that. So that actually explains the nature of the inconceivability of the quality of enlightenment. So it is not like it is not deducible, since it is unsurpassable. Yeah, deducible meaning that that you actually can compare with things, and then you can say, oh, this matches with this, it matches with that, but it does not have any comparisons. Because of the lack of deducibility and comparability, it is unsurpassable. Yeah. It is unsurpassable because it is not of anything. Yeah. You can't say it is of this, it is of that, it is look like this, it is part of his portion of this, branch of this. It is not a part of something. It's not a portion of something. It is not, you could not say what it is and what it is not. So it is not something within the it is, it isn't, So it is not it isable, or it is not it isnable. So because of that, yeah, that's why it is saying that it is not of anything, since it does not abide. It does not. It is neither of samsara nor of nirvana. You think it's samsara, then there is nothing in the that it is samsara. You think it's nirvana, you try to put it on nirvana, then you couldn't also locate it having any symbol to do with nirvana. Because of that, this is because there's no conception of good and bad. Yeah. So all duality has completely suspended. There isn't anything. Samsara called fault, nirvana called peace, or hot or cold or good or bad, and a friend or foe. All of these are completely doesn't even contrive as a conception. So this is exactly what we were talking at the beginning, that Buddha said it is peaceful, it is profound, it is uncontrived, it is transcendental, it is perfection of wisdom. It is not possible to talk about it. And I'm not doing that, of course, because I'm only reading the lamentation by Asanga. Asanga's lamentation. Asanga is lamenting that you can't talk about it. Then he uses a couple of ink bottles to write these verses. Like the Nagarjuna says, he's got nothing to say, but he wrote 404 verses to say there's nothing. It's quite interesting, And so take it easy, really. take it easy. What the hell you think is the problem? just let the mind stay in that pure intrinsic nature of things, and then what are we thinking about? Whatever you think, it's all conceptualized by you, but you're thinking about doesn't have any inferential existence of itself. It doesn't have a leg to stand on. So what is the problem? What is not the problem? So therefore, just get off this problem, thinking something is something. So it's inconceivable when your mind is at best in doing the meditation on the emptiness. Because enlightenment it just completely dispels this body of confusion, as if there was a body of confusion. The body of confusion has no sign of their existence. You don't have to remove confusion that doesn't exist. You don't have to acquire the wisdom that also doesn't exist. Simply suspend all contrivances. And that is meditation. That is profound illumination. When the Buddha is meditating, he's always meditating in that state of mind which doesn't get attached to here or aversive from there. It doesn't stay in it. It sees the futility of that. So, therefore, enlightenment is inconceivable. So, that's pretty much explains etymologically why it is inconceivable. Now, the second is the relationship of sign and labeled. Now, this is, of course, because of the 5 subtle causes of Dharmakaya is inconceivable. Rupakaya is the 6th inconceivable, as it is not an actual real thing. So basically, that sort of, now it says, while it is inconceivable, but there are still few points which we can, which we can. So the relationship of the sign and label, meaning that that the Dharmakaya is inconceivable. So Dharmakaya could be labeled, could be sign of the impermanence and inconceivability of Dharmakaya is that there are 5 points. There are 5 points, and that these 5 points are, it's very, 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 very subtle. Yeah, it's very, very subtle. And it is very, very profound. And because Dharmakaya is very profound and subtle, and then the 6th one, which is which inconceivable, and therefore all the things, though they appear to arise or appear to cease, but all of the conventional appearance of something coming, and then we label, and sign of arising, and then we call it arising. When we label the sign of arising as arising, and then we label it. But even then, the Dharmakaya is still a very, very inconceivable. It is not within the domain of mind how it can be how it can be explained, you know. So the 5 subtle causes, those 5 subtle causes, which we mentioned in the previously, yeah, that could not be expressed, that it could not be thought, that it is ultimate, and that it could be investigated, and that it could not be inferentially cultivated. All of those are very, very subtle, and therefore Dharmakaya is inconceivable. And the Rupakaya is the 6th. Rupakaya is the 6th inconceivable, as it is not the actual real thing. The Rupakaya is the form to which we are labeling it. The Rupakaya is the labeled form of the Dharmakaya, and which is the synthesis of the 5 subtle qualities, and then we give the 6th. But actually, it is not an actual real thing in itself. So that's why the sign is Dharmakaya, and the labeled sign is the Rupakaya. That's what it is really talking about. So with that, we have now concluded the description of inconceivable nature of enlightenment. Now it goes to summarize. We're going to summarize in the last verse of the whole chapter of the fifth Vajra points is enlightenment. Yeah. So it says, the victors who have perfected their unsurpassable wisdom. So this is referred to the the wisdom of the enlightened ones, whose wisdom is unsurpassable, meaning peerless and unmatchable, and great compassion and other qualities are inconceivable. So this is talking about, if we synthesize all the 8 qualities of the Buddha, 8 qualities of in Buddhahood. That is the cause, that is the result, that is the nature and the possession and the engagement, manifestation, the permanence, inconceivable. If all of these 8, if all of these 8 were synthesized, we could see that they are wisdom, compassion, and qualities that are inconceivable. Yeah. So this very much synthesizes all of those 8 under those 3: the wisdom, compassion, and the qualities that are now not conceivable. Therefore, this final of the self-arisen attributes is not even understood by the great sages who have received empowerment. So this inconceivable quality, which has been now the synthesis of all the enlightenment, we try to talk about enlightenment. What is the cause of enlightenment? What is the result of enlightenment? What is the nature of enlightenment? What is the possession of enlightenment? And how does the enlightenment engages with sentient beings? And how do they manifest? How permanent they are? All of these things are in the essence is now synthesized as inconceivable. In summary, all the enlightened qualities are inconceivable. So that's why the qualities of Buddha is inconceivable, qualities of Dharma is inconceivable, quality of Sangha is inconceivable. Why? When you have this triple gem, then the full enlightenment is now yielded. When the full enlightenment is yielded or attained, then all the inconceivable qualities of Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha are all realized. So therefore, the qualities are inconceivable. These qualities are inconceivable. So therefore, these inconceivable. These points which synthesize why it's inconceivable, even the great sages, who have reached the state of great brilliance and great power and able to give empowerment to the 10 dwelling bodhisattvas, even they could not see this clearly. Even they could not understand this. So this is talking about the ultimate enlightenment of Buddhahood, the perfect Samyak Sambuddha, is not within the domain of even those great sages. The final self-arisen attribute is not even understood. Even the great sages could not understand, could not possibly explain. And so when we talk about receive empowerment, meaning they have achieved the 10 powers, 10 worldly powers, or like the 8 bhumis. And so therefore, those below the 8th bhumi bodhisattvas and the sages of whatever grade level they have, it is not domain of them to actually assess or explain or fathom what qualities of enlightenment constitute, because it's inconceivable not only between ordinary people like us, but even those bodhisattvas dwelling on the eighth bhumi, the great sages, even for them, this is inconceivable. The enlightenment is inconceivable. So this therefore concludes the chapter, what we call fifth Vajra point. The fifth Vajra point is all about in enlightenment. And so this means we have, of the 7 Vajra points, we have finished the first 5 Vajra points. Now what remains is the qualities and the activities. The qualities and activities, these 2 remaining Vajra points, which we will cover, I'm not going to go over this tonight, but are going to explain the enlightenment, qualities of enlightenment, even though they have been referred to briefly in this here and there, but it will be more explained thoroughly in next chapter, which is the 6th Vajra points, which is the qualities of Vajra points, qualities of the enlightened one, and these are explaining all the attributes, all the actual attributes of the 32 major and 80 minor marks, all the 112 marks. And then the last one is the activities, the Buddha activities, that the consequences of enlightened one. What kind of activities, what kind of pulsations of the enlightened being is now still vibrating. The very vibrant message and teachings of the Dharma that you and I hear and read and understand and think, is these the Buddha activities? So those 2 will be covered in next term. I don't know whether we will finish both of those in the next term or not. Definitely, we will finish it in both terms. If not, maybe term and a half. I'm not sure how it goes, because we have finished 240th verses out of the 404 verses. So thank you very much, everyone. I would like to say that some of you may have watched or read the news. There is a very important international Buddhist news development. That is the head Lama or monk of Bhutan, His Holiness Je Khenpo, has taken the matter of giving bhikkhuni, which is the highest Gelongma ordination in Bhutan. And he solemnized the ceremony on 21st June in a nunnery that has been really carefully established by Her Royal Highness Queen Mother of Bhutan. These are really, you can see these people are not queen by whatever. They are really queen of Dharma. They are really amazing. Those royal families are a blessed country in which they can be a king and mother and queen. They are all working for the Dharma. This Queen Mother has established a special nuns organization in Bhutan for many, many years. And then she and her son, who's the king, requested the head of Bhutanese Bhutanese clergy, what they call Je Khenpo. He's the 70th head of Bhutanese Buddhism. Bhutanese Buddhism is Tibetan Buddhism. And in Tibetan Buddhism, we have 4 or 5 different lineages, and the main government official form of Buddhism that Bhutan follows is Drukpa Kagyu. Drukpa Kagyu is one of the main Kagyu lineages. Karma Kagyu, Drukpa Kagyu. Kagyu has quite a few branches. Karma Kagyu is strongest because it's all the Karmapas, Karma Kagyu. And then Drukpa Kagyu is also very, very big. You wouldn't believe how big a follower. All up in Ladakh and down in Bhutan, and in 17th century, one offshoot of the Drupakagyu in Tibet escaped Tibet because they had some kind of a internal problem, and he escaped, and he then took refuge in Bhutan, where he was received as a saint, and then Bhutan has officially adopted the Drupakagyu as their state religion, if you like. And so it has tradition of appointing the head of the Drupakagyu is the Jekempo. They call Jekempo means supreme abbot. Supreme abbot. This present abbot is the 70th one. He is very, very highly revered. They call it Yishin Nurbu, like we call it His Holiness Dalai Lama, wish-fulfilling gem in Bhutan. He has considered all options very, very clearly, and then at the repeated request of the Queen Mother and the Bhutanese king, he has finally arrived at the decision to solemnize the ordination of 144 or 42, I don't know. And I've seen two reports. One is 144, 144. In any case, three of those senior Gelongmas are nuns from Gelongma Tenzin Palmo's nunnery. And the Gelongma Tenzin Palmo also officially traveled all the way from Himachal Pradesh to participate in that ceremony. And but J. Kempo has decided to solemnize the ceremony as an exclusive Mula Sarva Siddhadin tradition of ordaining bhikkhunis only by bhikkhus, without bhikkhunis, because there is no bhikkhunis that are ordained in the Mula Sarva Siddhadin tradition. So there are three options. Either you do the ordination with the Dharmagupta tradition, which is the Chinese tradition, and this Chinese tradition has the ordination of both bhikkhus and bhikkhunis. So that's the ideal, what everybody asking. And so, but that tradition did come to Tibet briefly, but it didn't last very long. And so it has broken, yeah? And the other tradition is Mula Sarvastadin tradition. Mula Sarvastadin has two subdivisions of ordaining bhikkhunis. One with just by bhikkhus by themselves, and one with the bhikkhus and bhikkhunis of Mula Sarvastadin tradition. And because we don't have any bhikkhunis from Mula Sarvastadin tradition, and so it says in the Vinaya text that if there is no bhikkhunis of Mula Sarvastadin tradition, and if it was insisted, requested by the royal king in order to revive the bhikkhuni tradition by having just male bhikkhus to ordaining, then that could be done. So he has decided to follow the latter, and then you did the ordination by male bhikkhus only, because precept and counsel, but those who are ordainees, those who are ordained ones are all bhikkhunis. So now they have 142 or 142 bhikkhunis, Gelongmas, in Tibetan Buddhist tradition, all ordained formally by none other than the Je Khenpo 70th abbot. And he has explained in a quite a lengthy talk, which is readily available bilingually in Tibetan and English. He explains that he has seen that all the Tibetan Buddhist lineage masters, from His Holiness Dalai Lama as well as all the other, they all have unanimously stated and wished that someone could revive it and make it and just do it. And he said, then he had paid heed to that and followed what everybody were wishing, because he has been ardent practitioner of Dharma last 30 years as head of the Buddhist church. And since he has the responsibility and expectation and request, and therefore he did it, and he has every reason to feel that this will only advance the growth of Dharma, and actually encourages the female practitioners of the Mahayana Buddhist world and therefore give a very innovative leadership. And he believes that this will only be the good beginning. And now, therefore, all those female practitioners who wish to seek ordination after 12 years, all of those 1,242 nuns, bhikkhunis, they will be now qualified in 12 years' time to conduct the ordination. Either with the male bhikkhus or by themselves. I think it never happens by themselves. So always in working with. So Mula Sarvastadin tradition now will have senior bhikkhunis in 12 years' time who are all eligible to be the preceptor council and then ordain others. So this has now become official, and the response from the Tibetan community is generally speaking very positive, except few scholars who has buried their head in book and never actually looked in the world, who are making few noises saying, "Oh, this is who is he?" type of thing, who is he? So there's always few wranglers, and it's expected, but this has been happened. So I have taken great effort in promoting his J. Khenpo's work and making everybody know. So that news has now reached internationally received very well, positively speaking, by everywhere. And I think it would not attract any criticism or opposition. But because the role of head of Bhutan is a sovereign country, and he himself is the highest Lama, and in that tradition, and because they're independent country, they probably have more kind of recognition because they're independent sovereign nation who has actually Jack Khenpo, and so and Drukpa Kagyu has a huge followership in Bhutan, in Ladakh, and also in Tibetan community like Gelongma Tenzin Pamo is actually technically belongs to Drukpa Kagyu lineage, and so while she has been hoping that this happens within the Tibetan tradition, she wasn't able to see that was happening under any other ones doing it. But this time she managed to, maybe she played some role, but the main instigator and benefactor of this Gelongma ordination was the Queen Mother of Royal Bhutan family. So we can see how countries that is fortunate to have a Dharma king and Dharma queen, how they actually supported the otherwise heavily sort of disadvantaged women in third world countries where the sexist kind of male kind of dominated thing and never sort of give a chance for the female. Not the females were asking, there's nothing like that. Tibetan and Bhutanese women are just by their own quality, it's like complete bhikkhunis anyway, But this is just to formalize it. I would never say that Tibetan Buddhism lacked the qualities of a bhikkhunis. Some of the Sakya family dharmas, their duties, their kindness, their tenderness, their selflessness, their purity, their utter devotion for the Dharma, how they give their life as a mother or a grandmother, is more than some bhikkhunis can do. Maybe you haven't heard the story. Even mother of Asanga was a bhikkhuni. And she realized that she herself being a bhikkhuni wasn't having had any positive influence. Why? Because they need very strong Dharma practitioners and male teachers. And she said, look, instead of me being a very grumpy old nun, no, she didn't use that word, by the way. she said, look, if I marry and produce some good boys and they become monk, they can advance the Dharma much more gallantly than me, trying to do something in this body, in this age, in this gender. And therefore she renounced. She renounced her nunhood and deliberately married at least 3 men, at least 3, I think. She didn't. She was brave. She was brave. And then she was her marriage with these these different men fathered the Vasubandhu and Asanga, And Vasubandhu, Asanga are the two most famous brothers, two most famous duos of the Mahayana Buddhism. Vasubandhu is author of Abhidharma Kosha and a lot of other texts, and Asanga was author of these 5 very famous Mahayana texts. So you can see how bhikkhunis sometimes become mothers, but sometimes the mothers become bhikkhunis. And now, with the ordination of these 144 women, there are 144 women. That's a lot of women, and they're all Tibetan and Ladakhi and Bhutanese blood. So this is not. I mean, there may be at least maybe good half of that many Westerners who have received ordination in the Chinese tradition or so on, but we are yet to see how much of their effective leadership is making. There are quite a few of them making some I would say some markings on the Buddhist history. So Tenzin Palmo is one of them, and there are others also doing. So these are a very good new chapter, not only historical for the sake of history, but actually someone who has the courage to do this, just go and do it instead of talking. And in the Tibetan quarter, they have been doing lots of talking last 30-40 years. And I think their talking has maybe helped to make this doing. So someone has to do the talk and make a lot of noise, and then others then realize that's the result of let's do it. And His Holiness Dalai Lama said he can't do it because that's the path line he chose. He said it should be agreed by the whole Sangha. I don't know what is whole Sangha. That all must come to agreement. Everybody thought, looking at him, that he might do, and then everybody would say, yes, Your Holiness, but His Holiness says he can't do it. And I was at the International Bhikkhuni Conference in Hamburg University in 2007, and where there was huge hope that His Holiness might say yes. But His Holiness said, oh yes, you should do this, you should do research, you should translate all the rituals of how to ordain women from the various things. Right now we don't have them in Tibetan or whatever His Holiness said, as if they were the obstacles. But anyway, so there were feelings aired that at that time, why doesn't somebody do it? And I have heard since then, His Holiness the 17th Karmapa has actually said he would like to make it happen. And then that noise was heard for a few years, but then everything went quiet from that quarter for whatever reason. But anyway, the Druk Khenpo of Bhutan has made those things all now thing of the past, and we have very good reason to rejoice his commendable leadership and innovation and compassion. And mostly it's really compassion, because quite a lot of genuine practitioners, women are there, and they need to be empowered by giving the opportunity. And if leaders don't do it, then ordinary people will not be able to do it. And we convened the Bhikkhuni ordination here in Australia in 2003, but that was not trying to start a new tradition. We're trying to follow the existing tradition of Dharmagupta tradition, who was ordaining Westerners and whoever anyway, and we just happened to take the liberty to sponsor the ordination council and invite all the senior bhikkhus and bhikkhunis from Vietnam, America, and China, and various places. And so there were quite a few people ordained at that time. And there are also just as many, like Gelong Tenzin Palmo herself. She went to Hong Kong or Taiwan, I don't know exactly, Korea or somewhere, received ordination. But they all receive ordination under the Dharmagupta or whatever tradition they have, but not at the leadership and guidance provided by one of the head of the lineage of the Tibetan tradition. So, of course, Bhutanese tradition is only from the sovereign nation point of view is Bhutan, but actually the head of the Bhutanese tradition, Je Khenpo, he regards himself as a Tibetan Buddhist. And therefore, he thinks that he gives due respect to all the head of lineages. And he said he has read every wishes and letters by all the head of the lineages, and they all have been wishing that someone will do it. And therefore, he took the liberty that all of their wishes need to be honored by him taking, because he got the heavy request. He said he had never intention to do anything like that because of who he himself is a humble person. But now, because he's the head of the lineage, and he held the position for quite a few many years, and the royal king and the Queen Mother making these solemn requests, he could not refuse. And because of that, all the causes and condition has come together to make it happen. So if this is news to you, this is news to you. If not, it's just a reiterating saying this has happened, because this is this week's Buddhist headlines. You know, today is the 28th, isn't it? 28th, and actually it's last Tuesday happened, but we didn't hear about it until day after or so. And I straight away got really, really excited. I said that was one of the best news the Buddhist world can have after this pandemic years, all these difficulties. So nice to have you all to share this story. And so may His Holiness Je Khenpo and his noble example and task that he has initiated cement this problem, and then create this robust lineage of nuns and gelongmas, and so that the spread of Dharma is advances even more quickly, because while qualified women might be there, but the women who are recognized, given the highest ordination, is the world needs. The world needs to acknowledge these things, and Buddhism shouldn't lag behind these things, but should make leadership. And so therefore, I like to dedicate tonight's teaching for his long life, for all the nuns who have been fortunate to be ordained to fulfill their wishes and prayers. They all look very, very happy and very, very diligent. Bhutanese is a very devout practitioner. You know, they're not just testing 1 year and leave it next year, and they are born and bred and are now going to be enlightened as gelongmas. Very good. They say that you can gain enlightenment more quickly as gelongs and gelongmas than as getsuls and getsumas. Getsul and getsumas are novice boys and girls. There's not a lot of people get enlightenment as a getsul and getsul. But gelong and gelongmas have more chances. And then those genyen means upasikas, that's a female. Male and female upasakas can also gain enlightenment. You know, so while they say it's preferable to be a practitioner as gelong and gelongmas, but we have quite a lot of lay practitioners too who got enlightened, like Milarepa and Gampop, and Milarepa and Dromtompa, and Sachen Kunga Nyingpo, Sonam Tsemo, Chakpa Gyaltsen. These are all lay householder practitioners. And so there is actually no shortfall, no shorter list of enlightened ones in Tibetan Buddhism, those who are actually householders, you know. But it's still preferred to be a Gelong or Gelongma to practice because of their the moral authority of having the highest ordination. They're more likely to have a higher opportunity to benefit sentient beings and gain enlightenment and benefit sentient beings. So that's why this ordination is a great blessing, and that has happened in Sakadawa. so thank you very much, everyone. With this, we'll do the dedication merits. Thank you, everyone. From the ocean of Buddha and Mahayana teaching, whatever merit I have, may be because and love as to the Mahayana teaching, courage, manjushanya wode asama rabara de lava follow oh de zamba aisha de oh de mere mede selam body juda teba where has been born freely without generation. Thank you, everyone. I will just list all the names. Marco, hello, Pratiksha in England, Zakish, Namka, Bess, Melinda, iPhone, Christine, Claire, Eric and Carolyn, Christine, Kathy, Carol, Maggie from New Zealand, Irina, and Paul, Yorg, and Anthony, and whoever are there in the universe who have been listening to these teachings. Thank you for all of you giving me the attention. I have got a lot of inspiration and goodness by having your attention. Therefore, it gives me the commitment to study this myself. And I'm still a more student on these teachings than a teacher. Never have been a teacher to anywhere. So therefore, don't think that I'm some teacher. I'm one of yours co-student. I just have the benefit of being able to read the root text and commentaries in Tibetan, which you can't. Therefore, I have been more like a translator of this text, so we had good company from each other, and we will resume next term at the beginning of August. Thank you very much, everyone.